my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, sing. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hi ho, Jesse Blaze Snyder here, the Coolest Geek Alive, coming to you live from my bedroom in New York, where I stay with my buddy, Digger Mesh. I am recording from my phone, unfortunately, today because my computer broke. It was my fault. I dropped it pretty hard on the ground. The screen was cracked in half, but still work, just a nice crack down the center of it. But when I tried to turn it on today, no luck there. So sorry to all my Facebook friends who might have missed this as a live, but we're just doing it off the cuff here on the phone because that is what we are doing today. Anyway, love you guys. Care Bear stare to you all. I hope you're listening to my Monday show, my new one, Everything They Don't Want You to Know. My All Your Favorite Band Sucks show will come back eventually. I just haven't had a chance to recapitulate a new format to get Spotify off my back. But yeah, Monday's show was cool. It was on astrology. A great quote from J.P. Morgan. Millionaires don't do their astrology. Billionaires do, and I plan to be one. You should be one too. Just explaining why it isn't, why it's really science, and it's a bit of a loose science, but yes, there is a lot of traditional American science. No, but when you understand the concepts that it's based on, you'll understand why it's important. And you should check out the episode if you've ever had an interest in astrology before. Anyway, I do that show every Monday. Check it out, please. I should also say real quick that you can sign up for our magazine, Sugar and Bones magazine. It's like heavy metal meets, I don't know, it's not quite it's like an entertainment magazine kind of, but with comics in it and some other goodies as well. This is our first issue. It's going to be quarterly. I'm really excited. We didn't start, the big promotional tour, probably start in the next week or two. This computer thing is a little bit of a setback. Hopefully I can get my computer set at the store later tonight when I'm done with this show. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk about this, man. The Hollywood echo chamber, because it's a real bummer. John Boyega, who is an excellent actor, he is in one of my favorite movies in recent memory called Attack the Block, and I am a huge fan of him from that movie. And I'm not the only one. There are many film geeks like me who were very fucking excited when we saw him announced in the film. And there's a picture of him with a lightsaber. We were fucking thrilled about it. And that's why these comments from him in a recent interview just strike so strangely. Oh, sorry, guys. I should have drank more water before I got on the show. He said, "Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. It's a franchise that's so white that a black person existing in it was something." He went on to say, "They're okay with us, the fans, playing the best friend, but once we touch their heroes, once we lead, what I would say to and then have them push to sorry, I don't understand this quote. I'm just going to skip that one. You guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. You knew what to do with Adam Driver. But when it came to Kelly, Sue DeConnick, and myself." Okay. Let me please address a few things here. Okay. The racism about Finn's part and blowing Finn's part up and not taking Finn's part in a larger direction. Listen, John Boyega, if you're out there listening, I love you, man. The fans love you. Fans loved you. They wanted to see more from you. But if you noticed, you were minimized on the poster for China. In China, they didn't want you to seem like you were as big a part of the movie because there's some sort of feeling or whatever that the Chinese don't respond well to black actors. That was a Disney decision. The audience, and I think very much, what's his name? Not J.R. Tolkien. Who's the guy who did the Star Trek movies in the first place? He did Lost, and he did all the freaking movies. I'll remember his Jar Jar Abrams, J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams. I think J.J. Abrams had plans for you. I think he cast you knowing that film geeks like myself and many others. Attack the Block's a sci-fi movie. It's not a Star Wars type sci-fi movie, but it's still a sci-fi movie, sci-fi monster movie. It's excellent. He's excellent in it. It's a star turn. It's fucking wonderful. He's awesome. And when you saw him with that fucking lightsaber, that was a promise of the future. A future that we didn't get with, Samuel L. Jackson. Now, famously, Samuel L. Jackson requested to be in the movie. He just wanted to be in the movie. Just put me somewhere in the movie. So he was given this little role that was relatively unsatisfying for most of the people, watching. I think we got a nice fight from him in the final of the prequel trilogy. But still, it was unsatisfying to the fans. The fans were not upset at Samuel L. Jackson's inclusion. And if anything, the fans were upset that Sam wasn't given something more fitting of himself to do, or just more meaningful to do, So like, he was marginalized basically because he was added in, by George out of request and respect for the request, which is cool. But but there was fans were a bit like, oh man, that'd be great if he was like a more major part in the film. Now, Darth Vader, people don't like to necessarily mention James Earl Jones, but I mean, the voice of the main character is this black deity in geek culture. James Earl Jones's name is spoken with reverence. He is a deity, like a fucking Kirk and a William Shatner, and there's so many people who are on, I should say there's only so many people who are on this like upper echelon list of like people who matter to the fans and would have, if they showed up at a convention, what kind of line would James Earl Jones have? I mean, it's just crazy. So, and then beyond that, the fans love Lando Calrissian and love Princess Leia, if we go into girls' realm of things. And while there's not that many prime characters, and most of the prime characters are related. Luke, Vader, Leia, all related. It's like, so like there's and people don't give credit to Star Wars for being filled with aliens who are races of people who look not just a different color, but completely different. Completely different. They're scary looking, some of them, but they're all treated with mutual respect everywhere you go in the galaxy. Like, Star Wars isn't a racist place, although sometimes people don't trust that group of people or that group of people or whatever, But really inherently, it's a very inclusive space. Filled with God knows what kind of sexuality and God knows what kind of sexes and anything. Because generally speaking, you don't even get that deep into any of that stuff. But it is a place where inclusivity is totally there, for one. Okay, so let me just say it on that. I want to double down on what I started to say at the beginning. I am not necessarily the audience. I kind of became a big Star Wars fan with Star Wars Rogue One, actually. But just like wrestling, I have so many friends who are huge Star Wars fans. So being aware and educated in my Star Wars was important to me because I wanted to be able to always talk to my friends who I knew cared about it, because I like having conversations with my friends when they're excited and they're happy, and I like to be able to share in it with them. So, I was like a fair weather Star Wars fan for the most part, and I would always admit, like, Star Wars isn't really my favorite, more of a Star Trek guy, but I appreciate Star Wars and appreciate why people like it. But with Star Wars Rogue One, I really became a fan. And with Star Wars Force Awakens, it was very much a rehash of A New Hope in a lot of ways. So it was like, okay, cool, this is cool. And the thing that I was hoping for the most was the expansion of your character. And when I would go on to live streams of friends' YouTube channels and whatever other spaces, and and look at everybody was talking about their hopes for what would be done with your character. That was genuine. There was genuine interest in your character becoming a fucking Jedi. He's a stormtrooper. You were the most interesting thing about Force Awakens. We were more interested in you than anybody. I'm telling you. The audience was most interested in you. Look at Blade. Black dude with a fucking sword. Yeah, black dude with a fucking lightsaber. You don't think the audience would be cool with that? Like, it's like, and the audience should reasonably be cool with any cool character. I really believe they are. Any character that is deep and meaningful and interesting, whether it's Shaft that has become, a cultural thing over time, or Shaft, even the remake, people came out to fucking see that shit or whatever, or Bad Boys, or, there's plenty of fucking examples, man. There's no difference to me for black people to white people. I watch movies with fucking black people leads in them all the time, and I know I'm not the only one watching these movies. Like, I know a ton of them are very big movies. So what are we talking about here? You really think that specifically the Star Wars audience was like, nah, less black people? I'm telling you, that was an executive decision at the top of things. And this is the problem. There is a Hollywood echo chamber system, and it's made possible by a couple different things. There's a terrible bullying that goes on, and a worrying that goes on about, well, watch what you say, and have you been media trained? Media training means that you've been taught how to answer questions the right way, and to not answer questions that you don't want to answer the right way, and to basically talk carefully, which I think is lame as fuck. I'm like, just like, I try to be a better person so that when I'm on a live stream or an interview or a podcast, I'm consistently awesome, but not because I contrived some sort of illusory thing. I remember I had a manager that wanted me to get media trained for the longest time, and I was very aggravated about that. I was sort of like, nah, I'm just going to keep saying what I want to say. Nah. Thanks anyway. Feel free to give me some, guidance of what you might like me to say, but nah. I don't like this whole idea of the media training. I'm going to be trained for the fucking media. But most of these people, I promise you, they have had media training. Oh, God, they've had media training. It's terrible. And worse than that, most of them are on social media. Most of them are expected to be on social media. I've talked about this before. I was in comics during a pretty famous moment where one of my good friends, who was a big writer at Marvel, he kind of got pushed out a bit because he did not have enough of a social media presence, and not the type of social media presence that they wanted him to have, which is very lame. He's a very talented guy, and it was just super shitty that they did that to him. But this was the mandate. They wanted people who were social media influencers, and this has become the mandate across all of entertainment. Who's this actress? Does she have any following on social media? Blah blah blah. And how do you get following on social media? Money. And a lot of effort and a lot of consistency, or a lot of effort and a lot of consistency and being very genuine about things that people care about. Which is why it's the rise of the Joe Rogans and the Russell Brands and the Nerdrotics and Doomcocks and people on YouTube and other channels, because they are speaking a language everybody can understand, and have earned credibility amongst their listeners over time for being consistent in various ways that their audience, supports. Russell Brand, right now he's getting some terrible charges brought against him, and his audience is, I think, very kindly with him. There's a lot of weird things about, unfortunately, these accusations that have come out so long afterwards as he's become, somebody who's really not a problem. There's so many people that seem ripe to be taken to task and seem to be brought to justice. And that man's doing some real good in the world. And yet all of a sudden, these charges from a long time ago come up. But because he's been able to make a real connection with an audience, when Russell says, "Hey, look in my eyes, I swear I've never had non-consensual sex with anybody in my life. I admit, and many times I've admitted I was a bit of a deviant back in the day, but not in that way. I'm not a rapist. I would not hurt somebody or harm somebody if I knew that they didn't want to do it." And I do believe him. And could I be wrong for believing him? Maybe. But I do. I've had time to get to know his character through many, many, many hours of conversations that I've watched him have with people and reports that I've watched him do. And I believe that, at the very least, he believes that. And, I think sometimes there are different scenarios where people aren't even aware that, maybe they're a part of doing something that's not so good. Oh, I thought that person was okay with what we were doing, and there's a lot of things that could go on, but honestly, it's not my business, and it doesn't really change the good that he's been doing in the world. So, and I think that's so much of what helps so many of his fans play. And I mean, Joe Rogan's fans who stayed by him during this whole ivermectin scandal, they've been completely fucking vindicated. Joe was right. He was absolutely fucking right, and it wasn't even that he was giving medical advice. He said out loud what his doctor had prescribed to him, and it was really crazy what had been done to him. It was not fair. All these accusations of being irresponsible. Joe is interested in thought, and there are people who are out there doing interesting things and talking about interesting things, and they're worth discussing. If they're not worth discussing, well, then we won't be discussing them anymore because nobody will have found any merit in them. But if they are worth discussing, the discussions will continue, as they've continued in these platforms, in these spaces. So, you got, and everybody remember, this is coming from a very liberal voice. I'm just a mediator, I would say, a centrist, somebody who really wants to make everybody happy and figure out a way for us to all live and let live. And I don't really think the way that the far left has been going about things over the past bunch of years now is the answer at all. I'd love to see something new for them. And, I can support that. But, in the meantime, I just sort of play, the middle, but also try to exonerate the right, because I see a lot of just sort of cast iron hate being thrown at them for no other reason than it's them, get them, and I don't like that. I don't believe in that mob mentality. Everybody's not always wrong. Everybody's not always right. So we got to be able to fucking honor the truth of what's going on so that we can get towards a real solution to things. We can't just keep having this like, it's them. No, it's not us. It's them. Oh my God, this is so stupid. Like, please, if you're one out there and you're part of that, like we got to be done with that, and we got to start like making our friends feel bad for like doing that, being that. To be like, dude, we can't handle like that anymore. We got to be nice. I got a conversation with a real liberal person, and she just all the same kind of talking points that anybody what you'd expect in your mind. But with each thing, we were talking about other things, and then it would lead to her sort of mention something, and I would go, well, the truth of that is da-da-da-da. And she'd go, huh, that's interesting. It's really hard for me to this, that, I hate this person, or I hate that. And I said, well, the truth of that is this and that. And she'd go, oh, that's very hard for me to accept. And when you get yourself into this place of us versus them, oh my God, all of it's hard to accept. That's why I've always stayed centrist, even though I'll say like, oh, I lean this way or I lean that way, but I'm not ready to just fucking like, no matter what they do, I'm with them. Are you fucking kidding me? No. That's how the Crusades happen, religious wars. And it's like, nah, man, we can't be religious about anything. We gotta, be, like I don't like the word spiritual, but like I definitely have, whatever religion I have, I would call the religion of necessity. The universe is what it is. And if you don't start playing by its rules, you're going to get gobbled up and spit out. So it's not even so much like a religion for me. It just sort of, it's like, hey, look, if you get in that whirlpool, it's going to suck you down and you're going to get pulled all the way to the bottom. Accept that fact. That's a landmine. If you step on it, it will blow up. Accept that fact. It's a lot of just sort of learning what not to do and replacing it with what to do. It's a beautiful thing when you kind of learn how to get out of the way of yourself and not live in fear of everything that is around you and start making some peace with yourself. I recommend it to everybody. Get in the center. And, and you could say, like, I used to be a Republican, but now I'm in the center because I want to be able to talk to both sides, and I want to be able to not just go with the flow of whatever the Republicans say. I was a Democrat, but now I want to be in the center because when they fucking replace Bernie Sanders with Hillary Clinton, I want to be able to say, wait, what the fuck? That's bullshit. And I felt like when I was in there, I couldn't do that. And that tends to be the case, when you're in there. Just, you got to toe the party line, as they say. I mean, that's why it is a saying in the first place. Towing the party line. So, I don't know why I had gotten into all of the back and forth. I remembered in a second. But getting back to the John Boyega situation and like all this stuff. Like, first of all, geek culture are not Republicans. The biggest fucking changeover of geeks becoming Republicans and other people becoming Republicans has been the demonization of the geek culture and the demonization of other areas where people felt like backed into a corner. That's me you're talking about. I'm not that. Fuck you. And there has been a lot of that. But that has turned into a very minimal actual racism. And Jesse, you may be saying to me, I've experienced it online. I got in this guy. He called me the N-word. Dude, when you personally get into an altercation with an individual, who knows what they might say? Lots of people very ignorantly reach into the lowest denominator kind of bag of tricks to make people upset. I see it happen all the time. And you're on the internet. And it's just there's just, and one asshole does not represent the entirety of the geek culture community. It is really big, filled with lots of transients, people who are in and out and in and out, and the people who are there at the moment. Because you're a fan, you read comics for a long time. You know, I'm still a fan. I still read comics here or there, but I don't read religiously like I used to. But I was in for a very long time. And there are people who are in for a very long time. And then there are people who, to take a little break and then they come back and they read this, they read a little bit. They read for a time and now they're interested in the movies. They're still interested in the conversation. They still have friends who they talk to about it, whatever the case may be. These are not racist people. These Star Wars fans, these comic book fans, they're not racists. The X-Men would not be one of the most popular comic books in publishing on the stands for years and years and years if we were a racist and sexist and phobic, whatever. In general, in my mind, and I think in the mind of a lot of fans, the X-Men was a book where you were like always sort of like waiting to get like another type of person. And it was like every single time they brought forth a good one, you were like, oh, cool. Like Kitty Pryde, she's Jewish. There was no Jews, except for Eric Lencher, who's a bad guy. So she's a good young Jew. And that was cool, especially when they hooked her up with Colossus. He's from Russia, and she's on a team with Nightcrawler, who's German. And all these different dynamics that might play out. And Rogue, she's from Mississippi. And Remy LeBeau, he's from New Orleans. So these are very particular locations that have unique accents and unique lore and history with them. Just like the giant-sized X-Men of Nightcrawler and Colossus, and Wolverine is from Canada, and Storm was from Africa, and Banshee was from Ireland, and who am I missing? Thunderbird, who's Native American, and Sunfire, who is from Japan. So, and that's the foundation of like the fire in a bottle that giant-sized X-Men was. It was this great group of people who came from all over the place and, were working together. And that was awesome. Like, I remember just the moment I heard that basic concept, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it is. It's really cool. And to this day, to a certain degree, that element of the X-Men is always there. Because who are A+ members of the X-Men? Wolverine. He's from Canada. You got Scott and Jean, they're from America. But you got Colossus from Russia. You got Storm from Africa. Sometimes Nightcrawler's not on the team as often, but Nightcrawler's from Germany. Kitty Pryde's from America, but she's Jewish. Jubilee's Asian American. But the Rainbow Coalition of different types of characters and people from different walks of life was there from giant-sized X-Men on. And it has been a part of it that, like, we cheer on. I remember when North Star, like, it was like North Star was on the X-Men, and and he was gay, and it was like, all right, cool. Now, like, we got a gay guy, we got a little bit of everything going on. Like, that is legit. Like, it was cool. Now, through that lens and the amplification of all the things, this inclusion has become very taxing and aggravating. And in lots of different ways. And Kelly Sue Trans, who he mentions in the thing, look, John Boyega, you and Kelly Sue, not the same people, don't talk about each other in the same breath. You were the shit. You came from a film that was the shit. You proved your ability to be a powerful masculine, and they never let you do it in the movies. And that was not what the fans wanted. We promise you, brother. Promise you. However, Kelly Sue, there's a lot of interesting things about Kelly. So, Kelly's Asian, which just is sort of like puts her into the DEI possibility box, let's say. Okay. Kelly's a lady, and Disney in particular, and a lot of these companies, they have had this desire to unfeminize their female actresses and to not really make them look, not really try to compliment them or make them look sex symbol. They don't want to make them into sex symbols, or they don't want to play up their looks. And somebody had pointed out, some picture or something of Kelly Sue Trans after I'd seen the movie, and they were just pointing out how beautiful she was and how terrible she looked in the movie. And there was a stark contrast, like, because she wasn't really, in the picture that I saw after I seen the movie, she wasn't overweight or anything. She was an attractive young girl. And in that movie, she appears heavy set, and she's really not particularly heavy set. So they didn't flatter her. So she wasn't able to be like a character that the boys would instinctually like, just on a hormone level. I mean, and this is the thing, this is the reason why we do that in a movie or in comics, because people instinctually, oh, she's cute, she's pretty, you know, like, she was cute, she's a cute girl, like let her be a cute girl, you know, at least a little bit, you know, get her in a costume that is going to compliment her just a little bit. She's going to be a powerful woman. Why did she look kind of like a frumpy woman in the whole affair of that movie? So then additionally, the way her character is set up and personified is rather annoying. On a real simple gut level, Finn is trying to leave to go save his friend Daisy Ridley. And the audience wants to see Finn do something meaningful. And she knocks him out and takes him against his will. She violates his free will and forces him into another situation. Later on in the movie, at the end, she violates Finn's free will again. He wanted to sacrifice himself. Granted, you know, perhaps it's a nice thing that he didn't have to sacrifice himself, but that was his choice, and she stops him from doing that. That's more understandable than the first time when she does this thing. Her behavior is very aggravating, because she's at one time comes out as like a fangirl who's like loving and appreciating him and blah, 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 blah. But the moment he's not following the rule that she was told to follow, he's persona non grata. She knocks him unconscious. And like, that is fucking aggravating. She had no respect for this person who she had respect for. I believe that Ryan Johnson, whatever you want to call him, I believe that he wrote that character in there very purposefully, and I do believe she is meant to be some things. She's meant to represent some things. And, you know, you can talk, and many people have spoken about what that is that she's meant to represent. The simplest thing to boil it down to is perhaps the fangirl, the fanboy audience, and I don't know what he was trying to say. But that character, in particular, was infuriating. In particular, to fans, infuriating. And to the narrative, to your narrative, to getting you off the path of doing something fucking meaningful and being involved in Daisy Ridley's story, which is the main fucking story, yeah, that would have been better. So, John Boyega, I say to you, we were down, brother. We were all down. We were fan speculating things that they could do. You know, if they did anything with the franchise beyond now, the only good thing that anybody has said is, well, maybe they'll fucking get some shit right with Finn this time. So, like, you've got supporters. Like not even supporters, like the whole fan community is in support of you. You were never in question. Nobody had any fucking problem with you at all. We didn't even really have any problem with Daisy Ridley. Over time, we did, because they didn't correct any of the problems that we had from the beginning. But I think people were trying to stay open-minded from that very first movie on. But the second movie, it just really started to double down on a lot of the problems that we had with her. You know, it hasn't been the women that have been the problem. It's been sort of the execution of the women. That fucking Admiral Holdo bitch with the purple hair. You know, the way she was going about her business was shitty. It doesn't make sense to the feminist agenda to create female characters like this. the best thing that we could do for the females and minority characters always is to put them through as much, if not more, than the fucking men get put through. We love Bruce Willis in Die Hard because he fucking really goes through it, including having no fucking shoes on and having to walk on glass and dangle outside a building. And I mean, holy shit, does that guy go through it. He earns that happy ending that he kind of only barely gets. You know, it's that is when we're with the characters. We love Sigourney Weaver for the same, you know, and what she had to go through in Alien and then in Aliens. And fucking especially we get to go, you know, through a real crazy arc with Linda Hamilton in the Terminator series, you know, where she's a naive young girl in the first movie and then she's a hardened fucking warrior in the second movie, which is so cool. These characters earn it. And that's it. That's all anybody's looking for in their heroine. I mean, like, we love fucking Kill Bill, man. You know, so it's not because it's, I mean, Quentin Tarantino is not the only person who can make a female character work. You know, she works for all these reasons because she's fucking really, she has to fight really hard to get what she wants. And that's what your audience is looking for. So anyway, in conclusion, the audience is with you, John Boyega. We were always with you. And this is all like silliness. No, actually, you know what? I do have a little bit more to say. Because I just want to show that, you know, it's not just these people. You know, it's also the lady from, I think the show was called The Acolyte. And she did a rap song, rapping against the fans. Like, everybody's upset that there's a black girl. No, we're not upset about that at all. We're upset about the foundational thinking that's going into the property. We're upset about previous things that weren't really great. We're upset about the people that you're hiring who don't really seem like they're the people that we would hire if we were in positions. And we have plenty of people who are reasonable people for that job. And they agree that those aren't the choices they'd be making. They don't fucking understand these freaking choices. We don't understand these choices. And then they're blaming it on things like racism and sexism. It's not true. You guys are being sold a line of bullshit by these studios. These studios and the echo chamber that they create with their PR machine, because it's likely that you're subscribed to the trades, or you're getting the articles from the trades, or you're getting the articles from your echo chamber. And the echo chamber includes people who are, it's in their best interest to retweet and share the press releases that these studios want released, so that they look good, so that they look like they're good soldiers, that they continue to get in free to see movies. They continue to have their access to the studio system as it is. And that's just the way it is. And with all of the screaming down and like the people, like, you know, you got to just cut off all these people, like the way they did it in the comics thing. There was a movement called Comicsgate, which was not, I don't even think a lot of them were fucking Republicans. A lot of them were just fucking pissed off that they were being called racists. And they were like getting into these freaking confrontations online. And they just said, fuck all these powerful people, supposedly powerful people. Like, we don't need them. And, you know, and the fucking Comicsgate situation is like falling apart into pieces, which is great because any fucking partisan bullshit movement, all of it needs to fall into pieces. So we can all meet in the middle and do something better. But there's been like a real shunning of like getting other information, and you'll talk to some of these people sometimes and they just have no idea what's really going on, what's really going on in the fandom, what's really going on with the audience. And John Boyega and the lady from Acolyte and all these people, they don't know. They know what they're told. They know what their agents tell them and what their producers or whoever it might be calls and tells them. So if they tell them, oh, you know, we're getting racist backlash, or whatever, well, then it's true. And then there's a bunch of actors going, this is terrible, really racist backlash. And this, Ewan McGregor, he chastised the whole Star Wars audience. But I'm sure he was just doing that based on what he was told. And if he had a more nuanced perspective on what was really going on, he would know that that was really silly and made him look bad. It makes you look bad, Ewan. It's making you look bad, John. It's making you look bad, lady from the Acolyte. You guys all are playing into their tone deafness, and you look bad. You look stupid. you look like you really don't know what the people who are paying your bills want. At the end of the day, your popularity is with the audience or it's not. And these people, they are going to find themselves persona non grata in a lot of instances, and maybe they'll be able to get this thing or whatever and overcome that they had this one bad role on The Acolyte or whatever it is. But in some cases, this is really going to get pinned to you. And your reaction to it, if you reacted badly, that's going to get pinned to you as well. And people are going to remember that you were not in touch with the people who are the audience for the material. And for me, that is just the biggest recipe for disaster. This episode is for all you actors. Don't do it to yourselves. The studios are melting down. They are melting down how they are handling all this stuff. Don't handle anything like them. Take whatever the studio tells you with a grain of salt. Do not go on a campaign calling your audience racist or sexist or phobes. Just don't do it. I implore you. Especially you, John Boyega, because you're really cool, and I'd love it in Attack the Block too. And, but this made you look lame, man. It did. It made you look lame. And I know you're not lame. I know you're not lame. I'm not saying that I think, because I do think you are cool. And I think you were speaking from the heart, thinking that these things they were telling you were real. But it's not exactly like that. It's not so much like that, no. All right. I love you guys. Thanks so much for listening to the show. That's basically all I got to say on the subject. I hope you'll join me this Saturday for another episode where I'll be doing some sort of coolest pick. I haven't figured out what it is, a classic or otherwise, but I will hit you then. Until then, I love you guys with all my heart. I really do appreciate you guys so much listening to the show and making podcasting, a real part of my professional life. Doing these shows and communicate with you guys. You can always write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnyder.com. And again, go to bldsts.com and you can sign up for notifications for that magazine that we're doing, Sugar and Bones magazine. You can also get back issues for some of the comics that we've been doing. Anyway, peace out, guys. I hope you join me again next Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of The Coolest Geek Alive. And hopefully I'll have my fucking computer later. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snyder. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. I'm a genius. I got lyrics coming out me bum for days. You like that? It's a kazoo solo. I played that too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the fucking awesome. be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground. Hooray!